Hi, I'm Roscoe, and welcome to EV Marketplace, your used EV show on a Wednesday night. And if you're watching live on YouTube, thanks for joining us. If you're watching later on, catch up on YouTube, Facebook, or Spotify, thanks again. We appreciate you watching. And of course, tonight is our very own show about used EVs. We're talking about buying, we're talking about selling, we're talking about ownership, maintenance, just the pure love of used EVs. That's what the show's about tonight. And a great show tonight. Action packed it is. A special guest a bit later on is Jamie Lovick, who I've known for a few years now. He's got a very interesting selection of cars. He's owned a few used EVs. He's owned a couple of new ones. But he has got a very interesting selection, and we're going to take you through some of the ones he's owned because I'm fascinated by what drives Jamie. And if there's anyone that typifies loving EVs and loving everything about EVs, it's him. Jamie, good evening and welcome to EV Marketplace. How are you doing?
Hey, Roscoe, how are you doing?
Good to see you, and thanks for joining me tonight and talk about your EV experience. Proud member of AEVA. I think no one works harder. Long-time used EV owner and pretty interesting collection as well. There's no doubt about that. I've enjoyed going through them with you as prep for this. But hey, tell me, what was your EV aha moment? When did you first realise that EVs were it?
I think it was kind of inevitable. I've always been a tech head. Uncle was an electrical engineer. I'm an IT guy. It was just going to happen eventually.
Yeah. And the first taste of EVs?
First one I saw was visiting France back in 2012, a Renault Zoe, which, as is obvious in some of my the EVs that I own. That gave me some influence. That
was way back in 2012. The Zoe's already out there.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that.
I saw one take off at lights, and it was just like faster than anyone else, and it's just like, oh yeah, I want one. So I've always. I
didn't realize they were that old. Yeah, I didn't realize they went back that far. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, back in France. My first actual EV I've owned though was Mitsubishi i-MiEV.
Was it this one?
Yeah. With EVs, I knew I'd get one eventually. It was just a matter of sort of right time, right place, and right price. I guess sort of to a certain extent, even though I love cars, I also consider them kind of utility vehicles. They got to serve the purpose. I split my time between Adelaide and Sydney, and this ended up being my Adelaide car. I had an opportunity. I was online in one of the groups, and somebody offered it up for sale for $3,000. Best price ever.
I know who said EVs were expensive, huh? So
well, that's it. It did have a fault. But I knew exactly what it was and exactly how to fix it. Thankfully, the previous owner was an electrical engineer, it was his wife's car. And he sort of, as soon as he mentioned it, I thought, I know I can fix that. So I grabbed it, and that turned into a little adventure. Bit of work with myself and a couple of friends helping me out, fixing that up over a few weekends when I go back to Adelaide, typically down once a month.
Here's the after, and the other one. This is the before, and the other one was the after. Right? This looks more like this looks longer than a few weekends of work. Seriously, you look like the Matt Armstrong of EVs fixing a car on your driveway. Okay, so
the one on the driveway there was getting the battery out at first, then popped the top of the battery. It became really obvious which one was the faulty cell. It became a little puffy boy. Managed to get a spare cell from an EV conversion company up in Queensland. They had a ton of them. So $50 to my door for a replacement cell. So next to nothing. Then bit of a process to go through, balance it out, make sure it's all correct voltage, put it all back together, and chuck it back under the car. And I drove that around for a few years.
And that's the interesting part about probably the history of EV ownership, isn't it? That over the years, a lot of people have had a bit more of they've had to believe electricity could do the job, and they've had to believe they probably had an understanding about them, which differentiates the older cars from the newer cars. You probably had to have a relatively strong interest in electrically powered cars, right?
Yeah, I mean, you go back to, there was a documentary about who killed the electric car.
Yeah, yeah,
In the US, the GM came out with the EV1,
that's right.
and because of, I think, California and Oregon sort of stating that you had to have at least one electric car to sell in those states, there was quite a few compliance cars in the US. Like there was
Yeah,
even an electric RAV4 back in the
yeah,
day. The earlier style of the Fiat 500e.
yeah.
I think the chair of Fiat at the time was famous for saying that, please don't buy the car, it costs us more than we sell it for.
Yeah, nothing's changed, right?
But the iMEV is still going. I only moved it on. It was always a city car. It always had a limited range. So I think when I got it, it had a just under 90 k's range.
Yeah.
But with a few things going on in life down in Adelaide, I needed something with a bit more that I could do a bit more range in, and that sort of moved me on to my first Renault Zoe.
Yeah. Then that and the thumbnail was and the title for this whole segment chat was a little bit clickbaity, but yeah, the point of some of the theme so far in some of your cars particularly was that you didn't need a big range. You weren't desirous of a huge range to get into the EV market. It wasn't a big deal. You get in, drive it every day, and experience it and love it. But range wasn't the ultimate aim for you initially, was it?
No, it was just about having something that I know I can sort of leave in Adelaide. Servicing is pretty much zero. Obviously you've got tires, and you check the 12 volt ends up being the biggest problem, really. I think I left an interior light on once and had to replace it 12 volt in the next visit, which was a pain. But aside from that, I didn't, and the initial kind of repair, I never had any issues with that car. And most of the time I'd just, run around, catch up with some friends, do stuff with my family, and that was totally fine.
I noticed there's Toyota wheels on that car. Is that right?
You picked it, yes. Toyota Yaris wheels. If you've ever seen the original wheels on there, they're a bit ugly. They're a bit ugly.
That sort of that asymmetrical sort of three-way thing pattern. Yeah. So.
Well, there was a couple of reasons I changed the wheels and tires on it. The original ones, I think, are 175s at the back and like 145s at the front. Unless you're getting really, really cheap tires, it was really hard to find like a 145/15. Maybe some really, really cheap ones from Malaysia or elsewhere. And I just wanted that confidence that I could, have decent rubber on it. So I did a bit of math, worked out that I could fit the Yaris wheels on there. I did have to get two of them modified because Mitsubishi being Mitsubishi, they make the center bore on the front wheels larger than the ones on the back. Now, I'm pretty sure that's so you can't swap the tire wheels front to back and get them wrong. So I had to do some modification there, and then sort of calculated so there was no hassles with the traction control or anything like that. I've gone up to a 165 in the front and a 185 on the rear. So they're actually up an equivalent, I think it's about 2% in size. So not really much different, but that means I can just go to any tire shop and get some standard sizes.
It looks great. No, the stance is a lot better. It doesn't look as upright. It looks more planted with the bigger wheels. That's for sure. It looks good.
Oh, and it drove really well as well. You could chuck it into corners, not a problem.
No, just from that side profile. I love the side profile shot.
Yeah.
The stance looks a lot better. I wanted to ask you a bit more about AEVA, the Australian Electric Vehicle Association, because I know you've had a long association, and seriously, if nobody, I'll tell you now, no one does more. Oh, there are people that do more. You would do as much as anyone I've ever seen at as many events as possible for AEVA. Tell us about them, what they do, and how people can get involved, right?
So the Australian Electric Vehicle Association has been around, started off in 1973 by some people that thought, the future was driving electric. We've been a member organisation probably initially back in the day before EVs were common. We're more sort of about EV conversions. So if you had an existing petrol car and, EV conversions are still common today, and we still support members in doing that. But across the years, as EVs have become normalized, it's been, we've had extra things to do, which is, help people with new to EVs, how do you charge? What cables do I need? What will work for me, kind of thing. And also advocacy, because obviously if the market is growing, if the EV market is growing, we want to make sure that anyone from stratas, councils, state governments, federal government are supporting that transition in a sort of consistent and sort of forward-thinking way to make sure that there's funding for infrastructure, the planning laws are in place, so you can actually sort of, so companies who are installing EV chargers can get that in there. And also, for example, if you're an EV owner and you don't have off-street parking, making sure that there's curbside options or potentially options to charge from your own residence, or if you're in a strata, being able to either install your own or encourage your strata management company or board strata committee to actually allow one in a common area. So, you've got that opportunity. Now, having said that, it's not impossible to charge if you don't have charging at home. There's plenty of good public charging options these days. And of course, the best time, and this is the biggest mindset change, is best time to charge is while you're doing something else. So, having good destination charging. So when you go to a movie or go to a dinner or whatever you might do, you can just plug in and know that while you're having your dinner or whatever, you're getting extra kilometers.
No, I've seen this. This is an example of some of the events that you've been to, and we supported. There's a lot of community events out there. Again, on Facebook, or if you want to get involved with the AEVA, there's a monthly meeting. There's branch meetings right in every state, and events. Many talks we've been to involving lots of different people from different parts of the industry, whether it be the solar side or different transport or different car companies. We've been to BYD HQ, we've been to the Fonds, we've heard some from all sorts of people from different angles. So our experience has been fantastic. But you've been there at a lot of these public events where they AEVA get as one of the peak bodies of the state, as an organisation, get asked to come along and just show cars. The next purchase, you mentioned it already once. This is the South Australian one. So you were so enchanted by the Zoe that you went out and bought one.
Yeah, I'd sort of, as we all do for sort of car people, you have your search going on your favourite sort of car buying site for the car that you kind of always wanted. And every once in a while they'll pop up and it's just like, wrong place, wrong time. This one popped up in Victoria at a dealer, and I gave them a call and pressed them a little bit and got it for the number that I wanted for. About
how long ago was that one?
Sorry?
How long ago was that one?
That was end of last year. Oh, sorry, not end of last year, end of 2023. Sorry.
This one,
Yeah. So that one's a 2018 model,
Yeah.
got a 41 kilowatt hour battery. That was the only size that came to Australia for the Renault Zoes. Little 68 kilowatt motor, so it's probably not going to drag everyone off at the lights, just the ones that are a bit sleepy, but it still gets up and goes. And range, depending on how you drive it, is probably 240 to 280, depending on where you're driving it. So
That's pretty good.
with that,
Did Renault
my
did Renault
Adelaide.
bring these out? Did Renault bring these out directly, or were they private imports from the
No,
UK?
these were brought in by Renault.
Is that right?
I've heard a couple of numbers on sales and how many that were bought in.
Yeah.
According to some research I did a while ago, I think only 63 were sold in
Yeah.
Australia, and a lot of them ended up as fleet vehicles
Mm.
rather than sort of private ownership. So I
Yeah.
think mine may have been from a power network in Victoria.
Mm.
But yeah, there's a few that sort of work well as fleet vehicles, and then I guess when their lease is up, or once they're written off in the books, they were moved on. But I paid 16 and a half plus the I
Yeah.
think 1200 in freight across from Melbourne, and in SA there's no stamp duty for EVs, so rego
Yeah.
was particularly cheap. And yeah, just lives at my sister's place.
Yeah.
I had family in Adelaide, so I'm have various reasons I need to be there on a fairly regular basis.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
so that's my runabout car. I think I charge it probably once every 3 months because
Yeah.
you know by the time I run around and catch up with people, sometimes my sister uses it and she charges it, but yeah, otherwise it just sort of sits there and I don't have to think about it. It just goes and it's ready whenever I need it.
For anyone interested in Zoe's, yeah, I've seen a few around. We've had a couple on Amazing EV. We had one seller 6 months or so ago. Again, he sold for about a similar sort of amount, and again, I was very curious. It was great to see it because perfect size car. Plenty of cars out there, bigger, much bigger. But this was cute. It's small. It's affordable, and yeah, if you want a small little used EV, this is the one, right?
I think what turns some people off is the fact that it only has AC charging. So
Yeah.
you can't use DC rapid chargers,
Hmm.
but if you find a 22 kilowatt AC charger, you
Yeah.
can charge up to 22 kilowatts. So,
Yeah.
I think 0 to full is something like 2.5 hours. But,
Yeah.
most of the time you're charging it overnight,
Yeah.
or, if you do have to sort of stop if you are actually taking it for a longer trip, which is not
Yeah.
really what it's for.
No, it's a
But if
it's a city
if you're
car.
that sadistic, you can do it. You can do it.
It's a city car with city overnight charging. That's exactly what it's designed for, isn't it? I mean, yeah,
That's
let's
exactly
not kid
right.
ourselves. It's exactly what it's for, and it's absolutely perfect for that, isn't it? So,
Yeah, there were some European models that had 43 kilowatt AC charging, but those ones never came to Australia.
and then not only that, but there's a twin sister in Sydney as well, right?
Well, my wife was needing a car. Well, my wife still doesn't actually drive yet, and she wanted the car to learn to drive. And I did have a petrol smart car that an old work colleague gave to me, and I'd kind of thought about it, and I thought, oh, I don't really want her to learn in a petrol car. No, nobody wants that. So this one popped up because that same search was still going, even though I'd already bought one. And this just happened to be like 10 k's down the road in the
Yeah,
lower Blue Mountains, and I
yeah,
went and had a look and did a good deal. Actually, this one was 16 and a half. The other one was
yeah.
17 and a half. Sorry, I got that wrong. So yeah, now I own two.
How many
um,
cases? How many cases has this one done? What can people expect for that 16 and a
so
half?
I think on the clock it was about 38,000 k's. The very similar distance on both of them when I
Okay,
bought them. So
that's not,
38,
it's not
39. Even though it's AC charging only, I can drive from the Upper Blue Mountains down to work in Sydney and back on a single charge, not a problem. So that's 200 210, or depending if I do a bit of running around, maybe up to 250 on a return trip. I think, yeah. So I can do work and back. Don't even need a charge at work.
Yeah. I know, absolutely perfect. I'm just amazed that these little cars exist. If you don't see them, if you don't hear about them, you wouldn't have any idea. I know you've got another one up your sleeve, but then there's another one slipped into the fleet as well.
Yeah. So end of 23, there was basically MG were doing discounts on the 2023 stock. And most of that was around $10,000 off, and they also bumped up the warranty for 10 years for the entire vehicle, as long as you had it serviced with MG. This one sort of ended up. We used to have a little Volkswagen Caddy that we used as a camper, little diesel van, and I was hanging on to that for a while. But that was starting to get expensive to service. I think some diesel injectors in there, so it cost me like $5,000 in diesel injectors. I ended up selling that on, but that and a bit of other money sort of sitting in the kitty enabled me to get the MG4. This one, I was literally already sort of confirmed with the wife to get the Essence 64.
Yeah.
And the very next morning, somebody online sort of posted, "Is this a good deal on an X-Power?" And it was basically the same price, so $40,990.
I thought that looks like an X-Power to me. So.
Yeah. So all-wheel drive, 320 kilowatts, faster than most things.
I've driven one. It's
faster
insane.
than you probably need it to be.
It's insane.
It's a great car. Because I commute to Sydney, and also occasionally need to do work trips, maybe to Newcastle or Wollongong or out the Orange or Dubbo. It's just so easy. 99% of the charging is done at home. If I do have a lot of running around to do, where I'm down in Sydney, I mean, that thing, you do the right thing for the battery, you charge it to 80%. I can do, charging from 80%, I get back on a standard trip to Sydney with about 20% left, give or take 3 or 4%, whatever. If I'm going to Newcastle, when I need a convenience break on the way back, I plug that thing in for 10 minutes, and that just gives me a bit of a comfort buffer to get back to the mountains, where I can charge as cheaply as possible.
And the camper, does it tow the camper okay?
It does. It's like it's not even there. I like literally, occasionally, I think I noticed going down the M4, because that particular photos, we took it down to stay at a friend's place for New Year's. So we did a little bit of street camping, whatever. Place to crash out at the end of the night. But there was two challenges, I guess, to replace the Caddy as a camper. Is I needed the MG4 because it does vehicle to load. So I've got a cable that I can power the camper, 240 volts, like having a 10 amp circuit from your car. Also the ability to tow. Not all EV hatchbacks can tow. I mean, I'm sure you could do something, but no, that's not legal. And I just wanted something that also wasn't too big, because sometimes we go visit friends in Sydney, and they don't have off-street parking, so you don't want to try to park a land yacht down there.
It's a great solution. No, it's a fantastic solution. Again, on the road, having a small trailer, it's such a big deal about towing things. But again, that's a compact unit. It's perfect what you need. The car's not a big car, but it's got plenty of power. It's got no problem. As you say, the V2L, I look forward to spending a bit more time chatting about that, because I think that's going to be a real differentiator. The vehicle to load and V2X in the future, as well as the cars roll out. That's going to be a reasonably significant differentiator, I think, on the used market as well at some stage. But what did you have planned for the future? I know you've got another couple of projects up your sleeve.
Well, because I am the EV nerd and tech nerd, we are doing a reno up here at the mountains, building a garage, and I intend to do a conversion at some stage. Electric motors from used EVs with third-party controllers are not that expensive. And now with so many open source projects on controlling batteries, doing EV conversions is getting easier and slowly getting cheaper. There's some stuff to learn. There's you have to involve an engineer, and there's some rules. But if you're got the right attitude and are willing to learn, that's cool. But I mentioned that smart car I picked up from my wife earlier to learn the drive in. Well, even though it was a petrol car, it was still a fun little car. So
I've been a fan too.
As happens when you're on the internet late at night, sometimes maybe having an evening beverage, you might be drawn to the Japanese auctions because even though you couldn't buy them in Australia, there was an electric version of the Smart 4.2 over in Japan and Europe and the UK and even the US. So Australia lucked out, but it sort of does help to have a friend who is a car importer. So sent him a message one night going, "What about one of these?" And
and again, another time, another day, we'll go into the nuances of legitimately importing Japanese cars, which is a real thing. Yeah, it's a real thing, and it's a real legitimate thing for Australia. And pay the right money, find the right car, and legitimately import it out here, and you have yourself an electric smart car. Is that right? So
yeah. So it is a city car. It is probably a bit like the AEVA. They sent me plenty of info, and I was able to establish roughly what the range was going to be. And they've sent me a recent photo of it fully charged, so 121 k's if you drive at about 50% eco. So that's a bit rubber bandy. If you sort of really lighten the pedal, you probably get a bit more out of that. If you're a bit heavy, probably a bit less. It's, I don't know, I got it because at auction, $1,280 Japanese, or sorry, Australian in Japan. And then by the time you add all the import fees and stuff, and we're still going through a few things, but it's going to be here in my hand for under 10 grand.
Yeah, that's right. It's about 4.5, isn't it, to ship, and about clearing and customs and whatever. We'll jump into that. I can't wait.
Compliance. If you're looking at Japanese auctions, just add 10 grand, and that's roughly what it's going to be arriving at.
When you get that, we'll catch up again and have a look at that. I didn't grab a picture of that this time, but we'll catch up again, and I can't wait to see that one. Jamie, it's been fantastic. Thank you for joining me. What a fantastic range of cars and a great collection. I have a feeling that that's not the end of it. There's going to be a few more involved and a few other interesting ones as well. So hopefully we can catch up again.
It's they say that, or some people mention it's like, EVs, they don't last. Well, yeah, they do last, but I'm more likely to get bored and want something else, want the next shiny thing.
You can approach us, and the people at AEVA, you can be a new car owner, you can be a builder, you can be a tinkerer, you can be anything in between. They were there when they were converting cars with lead acid batteries, 12-volt lead acid batteries, and now they're still converting them with ex-Tesla batteries. So battery reuse is, again, another whole story we're going to jump into at some stage. That was Jamie, and what a great chat about his collection. One of the most eclectic I've seen, but hey, we're just getting started. I'm sure I'm going to see some more. If you've got a couple of eclectic cars or something you want to have a chat about, let me know at rosco@amazingev.com. And of course, tonight's EV Wednesday. Tonight at 6:30, used EV Marketplace. Then later on, 9 o'clock, it's Ludicrous Feedback tonight. I've got plenty that you might want to watch in between as well. So stay tuned. I've got a couple of ideas of some of the things I've seen on YouTube this week. As Mrs. Amazing can attest, I spend half my time on YouTube. So I've got a couple of ideas in between. But hey, let's get into it. Let's kick off and get straight into used EVs. And following that eclectic sort of theme through, tonight's first EV is one that's just sold. It was listed on Amazing EV, our own dedicated marketplace. And of course, this show is brought to you by Amazing EV, our sponsors. That's our own EV marketplace. We can list, buy and sell information about owning used EVs. It's amazingev.com.au. And if you're looking for a link to list and sell for free, it's normally $29.95 in Australia. There's a link in the description below where you can list for nothing if you watch tonight's show. So thanks, guys. If you want to have a look down there, it's in the link right down below. You can list for free, but let's get straight into it. This one was listed. It didn't last long. The owner had it across a couple of marketplaces, which was something we advocate. Get the message out there, spread it around. We'll do the best we can. Thanks for joining us, Joe, by the way. Mrs. Amazing's in tonight as well, but let's get straight into this Nissan Leaf. And look, we're big fans of Nissan Leaf, and maybe they're not eclectic, but they're certainly not mainstream. There's still a fantastic market for these cars. Really loving this. And this one sold Queensland-based, this beautiful condition. This one sold for just under 10,000. The price has come back a bit. It's done about 86,000 Ks. The price has come back a bit. They were getting 12 or 13 up to 15. Of course, do the battery inspection, do the checks, because you really need to know exactly what the history of the battery is and how it looks. So we've always recommended get that battery test. We spoke to Nathan Gore-Brown a couple of weeks ago from Test EV. Get it tested, but look at a Nissan Leaf as a first EV. It's a fantastic little car. You're still going to get good range back to the shops and around and about. That's our first EV of the week. There's plenty more out there like this one. And then a very interesting car that I found on Facebook. And this, again, for the Mio fans, this is a cute little one, direct from Japan. And a lot of the Leafs you see out there are from Japan as well. They're Japanese imports through the Good Car Company. There's still car companies like this one, and I don't know these guys. I haven't had any dealings with them, but came up as a Japanese car importer direct from Japan. Of course, Japanese right-hand drive. We're right-hand drive. So EVs like this little Mio van, something very cute, very exotic. Can't say it's good value, but God, if you're looking for something a little bit different, it's amazing little cars. And these are the sorts of things that just keep the whole market that much more interesting. While we're getting some pushback from some Japanese, here Mitsubishi is still doing this sort of thing for the domestic market. It's obviously a K car. And look, cute as, and absolutely, I've got a soft spot for these cute ones as well, I've got to say to you. And then, of course, this one, which we listed a while ago now, and I'm pretty sure it's still for sale, but you know, those that know the history again of Honda and the Honda E, this was in the UK. It was lauded for design, but this one was brought out from the UK, and I think they might have brought a few here. There's not many around. Of course, ridiculously overpriced by any example, any metrics by today's. But how can you put a price on this? That something that I think I'd take and put in my living room or in my museum, because again, love the style. Where have you been, Honda? Because this just beautiful car. It's still for sale, as I understand. It's in perfect condition. It's 14,000 Ks. I'd put it in my museum for sure. It's just one of those cars that it might be a future classic that I might be having a chat to Jamie about a bit later on. I'd love it. If I could afford it, I'd put it in my living room right now. Just one of those cars. Absolutely fantastic. Just a brilliant car. There's a small taste of what we've got, an amazing EV, and there's plenty more out there to come. But onto one of my favorite segments already, and there's plenty in there tonight, and that is breaking. And this is some news that we got straight in from the US, and we did a bit of work with the Australian sales data last week. And now we've got some data straight out of the US on the used market. Now, this is not new cars. This is not ICE cars. This is used EVs in the American market. 378,000 sold. And this is according to Cox Automotive, who are counting this sort of thing. And again, incomprehensible that the whole US market is probably 10 times bigger than what we are here in Australia. So, but to have 378,000 cars on the used EV market change hands already is absolutely fantastic as far as I'm concerned. That's a 35% increase already over previous year. And that is remarkable growth on the used EV market. That represents 2.1% of the overall used car market. So again, like here, about the same, just a small tiny pimple on the backside of the whole used car market, but still growing and growing significantly in a market which perhaps you'd be forgive them for thinking at the best of times we can't understand what's going on, right? So nothing further said there, but remember also, they also had an incredibly attractive incentive for used EVs, which was part of the Inflation Reduction Act, which also got canned in September last year. This is from Plug in America, the organisation that have been tracking information and just generally supporting EVs over in the US for many, many years. They got the latest update after the budget bill was signed to law in 2025. Tax credits will no longer be available after 30 September. So the used car market was getting some fantastic support over in the US by way of a $4,000 rebate. Just imagine if we had that here as well as the new car rebates. Tremendous incentive. That's gone. Hard to say in my mind what that's going to do to the used car market there. If anyone's got any ideas, watching what might happen, whether the prices will go up or down or stabilise, or whether there'll be a bit more support. Personally, look, I don't think we need some incentives here. The prices are settling nicely. We're still getting good value. But that's interesting to see what happens over there with their market. But significant numbers, big growth, and a small but growing percentage of the used car market. And to take a closer look at what that looks like before we jump into the Australian numbers in a bit more detail for last year, got this data from the US again, from a company called IC Cars who've broken this down. There was a couple of reports around on the internet that they picked up this data as well. Not surprising that the Tesla Model S is the Model 3 and the Y still lead the pack with probably 40% of the market. Not too dissimilar here. They're a bit further ahead of us, of course, and you'd expect Tesla to be dominant. I'm not surprised that that's a bit lower than what it is here. But number 3, the Ford Mustang Mach-E. That's the sort of car that, clearly it's been reasonably successful there. These are actual sales, not listings. Clearly it's been reasonably successful in terms of numbers. 5% of that 378,000 is still a fair whack of 15, 16, 17,000 cars on this you sold secondhand. I know they were going pretty cheap. I know they were going a lot less than what they were selling new, but that is absolutely remarkable. ID4, which hasn't quite taken off here, still the mainstay. Then the interesting ones for me, the Model S and the Model X, still forming 3% respectively of the whole market. Again, huge numbers. We wish sometimes the Model S's, and we'll show you a couple later that we've got here, I wish they'd continued to bring them here, and that might have supported the secondhand market. Great cars, there's no doubt about it. I've driven in a few more recently, and a couple of lowish K ones. Fantastic car for 10 years old in some cases. But the Chevy Volt EV, which came and went and is just coming back again, another iteration. The Volt EUV is the SUV version. Hyundai Ioniq 5 probably did a bit much better in the States, and seems to be a lot more better value over there. The very curious one is the Mercedes EQS. Okay, remember that, because we're going to come back to that a little bit later on. You remember that one? That's the big luxury Mercedes S-Class version of the EQS. I don't think that's a typo. If it is, I wouldn't be surprised. But how that took 2% of the used EV market, anyway, remember that, because I'm not sure about the data now that I see that, but we'll come back and have a look a bit later on. That is very very in front, again, with Cox Automotive. This one, care of Mike Costello, who we follow on LinkedIn, and follow Mike. He's got some good gear. Commentator corporate affairs for Cox Automotive and who own the Manheim Group. That data we had previously was from Cox Automotive. They got data on everything, everywhere. They ran the Manheim auctions, the broad auctions, you all know. This is great because, like Pickles with their deal with Test EV and Nathan, they are also testing, and Cox Automotive have got a global deal with Avalue, but using exactly the same gear. Avalue is the standard at the moment. Here's a Kona, 2022 Konas, 4 of them, 4 Konas, and look at the battery. Now, the highest one there is 115,000 K, still almost 6%. So great that they're doing some work with the battery testing to form a platform for car dealers, because we want to see car dealers come back with confidence to support this market. all pillars of sales, whether it's private dealers, we're encouraging everyone to get back into it, jump back in, and this is the sort of thing that both Pickles and Mannheim are doing, and they're getting a lot more retail trade out of it as well. As long as the battery problem's solved, their confidence goes right up, both for dealers and private sellers. As a used EV market ourselves, we're happy, no matter what the channel, whether it's Facebook, private dealers, we're happy just to promote and get this market moving, get the volume going, get more confidence, get this built up. So that is tonight's breaking EV. Now we're on to my favourite section, already my favourite, and I'm going to ask you for questions. I'm trying to take some time to cut to questions from the man who's following us tonight. And thanks again for following us live. If you're watching a bit later on, you can join us at 6:30 on a Wednesday night. We'll be here talking used EVs and the EV market and ownership in general. We've got some very interesting mail in the inbox this week, starting with... You might remember last week we did talk to Stan, or our last episode we talked to Stan from Kangaroo Island, and you can follow him at Kangaroo Island TV. He's had some great success. He traded the Polestar, he sold the Polestar and bought a Zeekr 7X. He's already had some great success with some of his touring around Kangaroo Island. That's part scenic tour, part Zeekr X, but already great following. And so follow him, please. He shared some time with us about his experience buying that and selling the Polestar. We gave him a hand with that. We cut that down to a short, which had been popular. Stan pitched in and said, it's true, I love my P2 so much, because it was a surprise and he was emotive about it. We did get this interesting message on YouTube, and I'm not biting. I'll never bite at the trolls, but this is curious because the opening stanza was microwave from JP Wayne. I said, and I don't normally bother, but I said it doesn't come with a microwave oven. And he came back with, it is the microwaves, at which point I didn't bother replying. So, look, if you share my sense of humour, that was a curious one, but that was Wayne, JP Wayne, who came back. I don't know how that translated into microwave, but still. On to a much happier note, Wayne, who we've been helping with the listing on Polestar 2. And again, why are we helping Wayne so much? Because Wayne has been talking to us all week about his experiences listing out in the markets. If you chat to us, we'll chat back again. Let us know how you're going and we'll see what we can do. Soon after listing, he got this inquiry. Hi, Wayne. Sorry for the late night message. I don't know what time it was. I had my eye on your ad all week, sussing out finance. It looks absolutely perfect for our first EV family car. Any chance you're available to some of them? Unfortunately, the meeting fell through, but Rebecca's still there. I don't know who Rebecca M is. Wayne hopefully has been able to make another time with it. But Rebecca, if you're watching, or you know Rebecca, anyone else is watching, if you need a bit more incentive and motivation to buy a Polestar 2, just take a look at this.
So, should you buy a used Polestar 2? Absolutely! I think this is one of the best value used electric cars out there right now. I get it though, it can be rather confusing with all the different motors and the annual updates, but hopefully this has provided you a little bit of clarity.
We hope so, Rebecca. So hopefully that gives you some motivation. Electrify.com have done some great work over in the UK. It's a staple of the UK market as well. They love them over there. There's a lot of variations, a lot of differences, but yeah, it's a staple. It's going to be a staple of the used EV market here as well. So don't take it from me. Check that video out after this one. Check it out later on. They do a fantastic review of the used Polestar. We're going to do a bit more of that stuff as well. But in the meantime, there's a lot more used EV stuff out there. Keep following it. Then this very curious email came through from Sensei, and Sensei's been one of our YouTube subscribers and followers, commentators for a long time now, way back from the beginning, and he's really given us big support as a YouTuber to continue to keep doing this sort of work and to get this show going as well. But enough said, because he sent this message in. Hi, Roscoe, Mr. Amazing EV and Mrs. Amazing. That's my wife, Josephine, Mrs. Amazing EV. Did you see the recent video from Australian-based YouTuber Redriven about the used Mercedes EQS? Remember the EQS from that top 10 used EV seller in America? The massive depreciation, way overpriced, tech that will date quickly, huge tyre replacement costs. Is that what used EV buyers have to deal with? That is an extremely good point, Sensei. What he's talking about is this video here. And I'm going to go into a bit of detail about some of the dynamics of this, because first of all, we love the Redriven. We're subscribers. Fantastic work across the board. There's no comparison between what we're trying to do and what they already have done. This little cutout from YouTube shows that they've had 121,000 views on this video. They have subscribers galore, 424,000 subscribers. We've got 1,300-ish. Clearly they're successful. There's a bit more data that comes from some software overlay that I've got called vidIQ, which analyzes the videos and the data. Everyone's got it who does YouTube. You can see exactly what everyone else is doing and how successful they are. In this case, this is when I took this snapshot, it had 114 views per minute. That's 2 times what they normally get. And the engagement was 2% ER down the bottom. The key to this, though, is the title, 260,000 gone in 3 years. Now, we watched this in detail, and I'm personally a lover of this car. I'm not a lover of all Mercedes EQs specifically, but we love all Mercedes generally, and we love all EVs uncategorically. I rather like this car. Of course, it was expensive. It was an S-Class. Every S-Class has been expensive. My dream is to have a driver and sit in the back of one, whether it was petrol or EV, but now EV, and be driven around. That's what an S-Class is for. It's a business tool to get from A to B as fast and as convenient as possible. I doubt you'd be ever driving it, but fair enough. And then all I can say is thank you for bringing this to everybody's attention. Thank you for raising the awareness of used EVs, whether it's a luxury car or any other car that you might have a look at. Thanks for getting it out there. Depreciation is not the issue here, or the loss of value. It's what sort of a tool, how much do you love this car? It's either one or the other. In this case, it's a combination of both for me. I think the design is going to turn out to be retro cool. Love those wheels, those massive wheels. This wasn't the first time that Mercedes tried an EV, and it wasn't their best effort, but they threw a ton at it. I bet they've learned a ton as well. And I can't wait to see this one coming up on the used market for a reasonable price, where it's just one of those unbelievable cars. I'm not in love with it, but I like it a lot. Thank you, Redriven, for bringing this to 120,000 viewers' attention that the EV market's out there. There's some fantastic cars for sale, and there's going to be some great deals as well. And if you want to drive a luxury car or be driven around, I wouldn't mind going in this one. But they've doubled up in the last week or so, and this one appeared. Now, again, thank you, because this is an incredible car. This was up on Facebook groups, and I think they've changed the heading, the title, and the thumbnail on this one, which you can do, as you know, after posting. They change them all the time. This one had 26,000 views, a much higher viewer rate. Love this car, right? G'day, Hal. How you doing, by the way? Thanks, James Pickering. Good to see you, and thanks for joining in. Stan, how are you? I'm on a slight Roscoe's rant about how good these i3s are. Just how much did BMW learn as part of this process? How cute are they? They were petrol and they were hybrid, EV, and they were hybrid. I don't think it was a pure petrol version. But just how cute was it? And if that's your entry point, again, I'd own one along with the Honda E tomorrow. I'd put it in my EV museum right now. Carbon fiber tub, absolute classic. Love these things. Anyone out there's got one and wants to come and give me a drive, let's go and have a look. Love to see one listed on Amazing EV. So overall, Redriven, thanks for raising the awareness of the whole used EV marketplace with your incredible reach. More, please. Love to work with you. Love to talk to you. That's what we're all about. These two cars come at it in different ways, but both exemplify everything about used EVs. So the quirky, the fascinating, the interesting, the ups and the downs, everything. Like a lot of things in the car industry. Love it all. So, guys, thank you. Message below. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you joining us for tonight. That was a great chat. Next week, we've got Sarah Aubrey joining us. She's got a surprise, which is probably going to be out of the bag by that stage. She's finally bought an EV, and look, I know she was looking at some used ones, and oh well, let's see what she's got, because she's always entertaining to chat to about everything from batteries to trucks to pickups to EVs to street side charging. Can't wait to see her next week. Look forward to seeing you as well. Thanks for joining me tonight. I'm Roscoe, and we'll leave you with some Model S's.